If you're a project manager, your project kickoff deck sets the tone for the entire initiative. Today, I'll show you how to build a polished deck with Microsoft Copilot. So firstly, what I'll do here is that on the bar here in the Copilot section, I'm going to click on the Copilot icon, and then to the right, the Copilot section is going to appear, and I'm just going to drag this to the left here so that you can expand this. Now here in this prompt, I put in a prompt here as a sample, and you can pause the video and make a note of this prompt. And basically, we want to create a project kickoff deck for a software implementation project. And the main goal is to leverage Vendor Inc.'s product, PM Flow. This is the product from the vendor as the new project and program management tool used by Client Inc., which is us. We're the client company. And then here we want to include the overview, objective, scope, timeline, RACI chart, communication plan, risks, and next steps. And we want to use a clean, modern layout for this particular template. Now, on your end, if you have the objectives for your project, you can insert that here in the first part. But what you have to make very clear are the items that you want in your project deck. So for example, these sections here, you have to definitely include this so that that'll help Copilot to produce the proper deck for you. So once you enter this, click on the arrow here that's in red, and Copilot is going to start generating the presentation. So when Copilot is done, it's going to notify you that the type of deck that it created here. So it created a deck with these particular sections here. And these are the sections that we defined before. So as we scroll down, ultimately, it's going to provide you with a link to download the actual PowerPoint. However, there are some suggested enhancements that it offers here. And we do want to add a visual timeline because what Copilot has given us so far is just textual version. So normally the timelines are visual. You want to replace the RACI bullets with a RACI matrix, which is normal. And this is typical in kickoff decks. And then also we want to add these other items here, and we want to align it to the agile methodology because we'll be leveraging sprints for this particular implementation. And you can even suggest to leverage the client or your organization's marketing colors. If you know the colors previously, you can definitely leverage this here. So we're going to enter the prompts to manage all of these particular bullets. So we're going to get an updated enhancement of this presentation template. So what I did here is that I provided some more information to Copilot, add a visual roadmap slide, create the RACI bullets with the matrix, align the language to the agile methodology, and brand with red and blue colors. And the assumption here is that red and blue are the organization colors that you work at there. So we're going to click on the arrow here to execute, and Copilot would generate the updated presentation. So once Copilot is done, it gives you a summary of what it's done to the particular template. So it's going to give you a link to the updated template here. And then it goes through a very quick summary of what it did here. So you can read through this on your end when you enter these prompts here. So what I'm going to do right now is that I'm going to go ahead and click on this link so that we can have the new project kickoff deck here. And it's going to be the one that's branded Agile here because we had just mentioned that we wanted the Agile one here. So I'm just going to delete this one to avoid confusion. And then what I'll do is that I'm going to open this one here. And then what happens is that it's going to produce a particular template for you. So you have some information here that you can fill in. And then it gives you the standard template, which is the project overview. It gives you some default bullets, but it helps you to brainstorm if you're working on this for the first time. Otherwise, if you have information from like a project charter or other information, you can start plugging that in. So the main components are the project overview. The next slide is going to be the objectives, and the objectives are the main goals of the project or the success criteria. And then when you move next here, it's the scope in regards to minimum viable products as well as the iteration. Now, another thing I would recommend here is very critical. You should have an out of scope section the way Copilot generated here because this avoids assumptions. So if you have an out of scope section specifically, now everyone will understand what's out of scope. So there's no confusion there. So that's a very important thing to include there. And then here we have a high level timeline, and this is going to be by sprint. So it'll give like a overall feedback for each particular sprint if the content of the sprint is known. Otherwise, you have here an implementation roadmap with agile releases. So it gives you an example here of a rollout that you can do. You can also edit this here, or even better, if you and your teammates have already a roadmap established, you can just copy and paste that image here. But a roadmap tells the audience what the expectations are as to the release timeframe. Here next, you have a RACI matrix, and this RACI matrix, you may have an image already from the information you've gathered already from the project. So in making the communications plan, you may have already established this RACI matrix. So an image, instead of this here, can be inserted there. And then scrolling down here, we continue with a communications plan. And so here you detail how often certain meetings are, for example, daily stand-ups, the weekly sprint review, are there any retrospectives, status reports, any meetings with the business. So all of that goes here in the communications plan. And then next are the success matrix. And these are the ultimate goals of the project. This is the success criteria that this project is going to be measured against. So for an example, if you have an adoption percentage success metric, you may have a certain metric where 50% of target users are active in the PM Flow application weekly. So this way, if half of the users are already using the product, you're on your way to 100% usability for this product. So that's an example of one of the parameters here. And then another one are the key risks of mitigation. So CoPilot suggested some risks here that you can do. And then finally, some suggested next steps here for this presentation. So that's what I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you how you can build a kickoff deck very quickly using CoPilot, because CoPilot is very good to leverage so that you can get very good PowerPoint presentations done very quickly. And what you can do is that, going back to the chat here, if you scroll down, you can also enter some other analytical prompts here. For example, CoPilot gives you some suggestions here. But if you want, go ahead and play around with this. And what I'll do is that in the description, I'm going to put in some other prompts that you can work with on your kickoff deck presentations. So give this a try, practice it, and reach out to me in the comments if you have any questions, or let me know your experience with trying this CoPilot feature. Thanks for watching.